Welcome to the Coach Jake Ganus Show. I'm your host, David Simpson. We're here at Bill Morris Stadium, on the field of Bill Morris Stadium, about 3 days away for the 2024 season kickoff against the Gainesville, Georgia Red Elephants. They're coming to town Thursday night, 7 p.m. here at the Bill. Got Coach Ganus with us, joining us now. Coach, seems like yesterday we were talking about third round of Ramsey.
That's right.
And now here we are, getting ready for the 2024 season. I mean, time has flown this year.
Time flies, and man, we've had a really, really good off season. We 6 a.m. workouts from January all the way up to May, and then had good spring practice all the way through the summer, and then fall camp just flies. The past 2 weeks have flown by, and it's here. It's football season now.
One thing I wanted to, before we get into this year's season, is go back to last year's team. Another 10-win season, back-to-back 10-win seasons, first time in the history of Moody that's ever happened. Those seniors were sophomores, I believe, when you were hired here, played their first year as juniors under you. So they understood your process of this program, laying the foundation. Now you got about 11 or 12 that signed D1, maybe more than that next year. For this year, they're in camp right now. Chase, Amon, Gavin, Zane, Blaine. Kind of talk about that team briefly.
Yeah. That was man, they were great kids, and with that team, it was, you saw the buy-in a little bit more than the first year. And again, like I talk about the first year's team, that I love those 12 seniors, and I love all of them. And it was just 3 years of just differences, and that's all it was, not right or wrong. And so this past year's senior class, we were able to do a lot more things, in terms of early morning workouts and staying late and doing extra work and things that they were a little more, used to and accustomed to at that point. But, ultimately, to get over that hump of kind of where we've been, second round, third round, it comes down to just hard work and are you willing to put in the extra work that others aren't? And so, that's a famous saying, to go where you've never been, you got to do things you've never done. So that's what we did this past off season with this team coming up, and we're hoping that it, leads us to where we want to be.
One thing I saw Coach Hugh Freeze at his press conference, and he mentioned Amon Lane Ganus, called him out. So I know you're proud dad, and you also look good in that Auburn hat, by the way. Being a Georgia guy. So great season last year, and now your focus 2024. I know you've been asked. That's all everybody wants to talk about, the schedule.
Yes.
It's the toughest schedule in the state of Alabama, by the way, in all classifications. But you said something the other night, I saw in an interview where you said the players kind of, hey, we want to play the big boys. We don't want to be scared. We want these teams. Kind of explain that process a little bit.
Yeah, so, when I think it was during last season, multiple current juniors at the time, now my seniors, came to me and were like, Coach, we want to play blank. Coach, we want to play blank. And as you started to see schedules getting posted and coaches are calling, I truly felt like in the playoffs we weren't prepared to get over that hump and to do what we need to do because of our schedule. Our first year, our 4 hardest games were the last 4 of the year, and we struggled. We lost one, won a close one, won a really close one, and then lost one. And so, we were able to schedule Bishop McNamara. We were able to get them to come down here, and that game, I tell people all the time, if we don't play that game early in the year, Ramsey beats us by 40, and it's not even close. And we were able to kind of know, hey, we can do this, or hey, we need to focus more on this. And and those are things like you want to identify early. I could have scheduled 4, easier games, 4, games that you probably could pencil in a win or maybe feel really good about it, but that doesn't get you prepared for November. And I tell our kids, I told them today, I told them yesterday, the goal is not to go 10-0. It never has been. It's to go 1-0 every week. And we just got to get in the dance, which is November. And I promise you, if we get in November, we will be the most prepared team in 5A.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think as fans look at. They look at the win-loss record, and if you go 5-5 or 5-4-1, whatever, and you're in the dance, you have a shot at a state title. So as fans, we've got to understand, hey, it's one game at a time mentality, like your players do. So let's go about 2024. You got a big game Thursday night. Gainesville Red Elephants are coming to town. Josh Niblett, well-known coach in this state. How's your preparation been from winter, knowing who you had to open up with, to this week, game week?
Yeah, I mean, we truly just focused on ourselves and getting better all the way up until Sunday. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
you know, we didn't start watching their tape or anything early. We didn't start prepping for them and working their stuff. You know, today was our first day in pads. Yesterday we went in helmets on Sunday because it's a short week. But, you know, I'm big in the process, and we just got to get as good as we can get.
Yeah.
And then now that it's game week, we can focus on the actual opponent. But if you started in July or June and said, hey, we got to start prepping, man, your kids are going to be burnt out. They're going to think they're really, really, really good. Now they are. But you want your kids to feel confident. You want your kids to feel like they can beat anybody. But if you go and prepare for a team for 5-6 weeks, then you're telling them that they're better than normal. Like, hey, we got to do something extra. And so normal game week for us. Like I said, we got started yesterday on them, and today was a good day, and we'll practice tomorrow, walk through Wednesday, game time Thursday.
Game time. So I know you don't like to talk about injuries, but are you pretty good health-wise going into the first game?
Yeah, so we man, I felt like last fall camp we got real banged up, and it was one thing after the other, and we're at 100% right now.
That's
which
awesome.
is great. It's really rare to say after 2 physical weeks, man, we got after it, and we wanted to establish an identity. This football team did, and so it was good on good, best on best, all 10 days of fall camp right there, and we got after it, and we were able to get out of there injury-free.
That's great. I know, talk about some of the players, your offensive line's coming back, all your offensive line, you got a veteran quarterback, some receivers, so everything's in place for offensively to have a good season this year.
Offense, and coaches, know it takes a little longer to get going. It's all about chemistry, it's all about timing, it's all about rhythm, and really like understanding like what are we really good at? Because you have this big playbook, and everyone does, and you've got, you got your run game, your pass game, right? Off of that, you got your RPOs where you combine both of them. You have your drop back, your screens, your RSOs, your PROs, and so finding out like what we're good at and what this team's like offensive identity is, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Now, yes, on paper,
looks good.
It looks great, and we should have a chance to be really good. But last year I think we caught our stride about week 6, going into kind of week 7 where we were really starting to produce and sustain drives. And this year I think we have more home run playmakers, so that's always nice when you can score on the second or third play of a drive instead of just going 11, 12 plays. You're just able to kind of hit some shots and kind of make a defense sweat a little bit more. So I am really excited about that side of the ball. Our coaches have done a phenomenal job.
On the defensive side, one of my favorite players, I've been watching him since he was a freshman, Cam Mallory. Talk about the front, the defense, and your linebackers, because you replace, Zane's gone and Gavin's gone. That was the brothers of Boom, and they're now playing college ball. So how are you going to fill that gap?
Well, you do have the Bash brothers coming up. So you got Marshall and T.O. I'm sorry, that's the same person. I got Jagger and T.O. Coming up. We call them the Bash brothers. So we moved Barack back. So he's playing, pretty much linebacker now full time, but he can still walk up and adjust for us. And then Simon Mole, who's been a 3-year starter at end, he's going to back up some, give us some depth at backer. But up front, you got Cam and Big Bailey kind of anchoring us in the middle right there. And then you got Henry Smith, Josh Willett, Simon Mole, Barack, Eli Walker. You got some really, really good depth there up front in the box. And then secondary, I think this is, we've had a good secondary. I think we've had a good secondary every year I've been here, but I do think this is the best one we've had yet. And so, they got to go prove it and they got to go earn it. But, man, I feel very good about our secondary kind of moving into the year.
That's great. Coach, I appreciate your time. I know it's game week, and I appreciate your time taking to be able to do your coaching show today. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we'll come back, we'll talk to Charlie Johnston about the upcoming season. Welcome back to the Coach Jake Ganus Show. I'm your host, David Simpson. Joining me now is senior quarterback Charlie Johnston. Charlie, last year you threw for over 2,500 yards. I believe you had, on my notes here, 29 touchdown passes, threw 4 interceptions, but that's okay. But you also had, which I'm proud of, for you, it's 126 yards rushing.
Let's go. Let's go.
So last year, coming into Moody, kind of look back on last year and kind of talk about that season briefly if you can.
Yeah, so coming into it, had that off season, got here in January and then had that off season, went into the season. Great season, got to know those guys really well and loved playing with them. was a lot of fun, and obviously not the expectation we wanted. Obviously third round losing to Ramsey, but I think that game taught us a lot as a team, and especially these younger guys got to see kind of our standard and what we preach. So I think some of these younger guys really got to see it, and it's kind of gone down throughout our team that the standard is the blue map, and everyone knows that. And I think that Rams game was really good for us to learn from, and obviously the whole rest of the season it was good. Just to go through that and see how that whole season plays out, because it was my first time starting and playing a full season, and I got to see and get comfortable with that offense. And obviously having the whole line back this year is going to be awesome, and having a couple people back is going to be great. So, but yeah, overall just a good season, a lot that we learned from that we're bringing in this season.
So last year you came in January. Compare your first off-season workout with Coach Willis to this year's off-season workout with Coach. Was there any difference? Was it more tough or what? Can you talk about that a minute?
Yeah, so we had 6 a.m.s this year. So we come back, and obviously that's something that's tough, and I've really never done, is coming out here in the cold and working and before school and having to come back. And that was definitely the big difference from last year to this year, was going out here in the cold, doing new stuff, and transitioning from the weight room out to here. I would say last year's was a lot easier. This year we're definitely more, I don't know how to, grittier, I would say, with our workouts.
So do you think with the strength of schedule that you saw ahead of you, how tough that schedule is, was that why you think the workouts obviously were a little bit more tougher this year? Does that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, so I mean, we're always trying to up the standard, what we've set. So the standard always is growing, and it's becoming a new standard each and every day. So we want to do things better than we did previously, years back, weeks back, and days. We're just trying to improve each and every day. And I would say that was something, I mean, you could say the schedule, and you could say that the schedule affected it, or you could just say that we wanted to be more prepared, and we wanted to be able to lean back on something in the hard moments in the playoffs. And I do think that with what we did, the 6 a.m.s and all of our off-season training, I think it's going to give us something to lean back on better than what we had last year. Because, I mean, everyone's going to be able to think about those cold 6 a.m.s where it's freezing cold and we're out here putting in the work. We're all going to be able to lean back on that as a team. And I do think that's helped us grow more as a team outside of football. Like we have way better relationships. I feel like I'm closer with this team than last year's. I mean, I love those guys, but this is just we kind of forged in the fire a little bit, is what you could say. So
that's awesome. Recruiting, you committed to Georgia Southern. Kind of talk about that process, about the schools that were interested in you, and why was the final decision to Georgia Southern?
Yeah, so I had, I think it was 12 offers, 13 offers by the end of all of it. And some schools came later and got into the mix a little later. But Georgia Southern was the one that stuck out to me because Coach Applin came up in the spring. He watched the practice, talked with me in the office for a while. We went over his offense and how I would fit into it and what his plans are for me if I were to commit. And, I mean, we just talked about how much – and, so I've been on a spring visit to there already, and I've seen it. And I would say definitely that spring visit was a factor that played into it because, App State came on later and Western Kentucky came on later, Middle Tennessee came on later, but I've never been to those. And Georgia Southern was the one that I really went to and I got to see. And I would say that was the school that just stood out to me the most because of how much they relate to Moody. I think their head coach is phenomenal. Coach Helen, he's great. And that offense fits me really well, and I love their culture. And the really cool thing about it is I went to their spring, and what I like to do is ask players what their experience is with it. And, it's not always what the coaches are telling you. That's not always true. But what was really cool is what the players were telling me was lining up with the coaches were telling me. So I just knew that the culture was great there, and everything that I wanted to hear was said. So That's why it stood out. And obviously him coming to see me and getting to talk with me and showing me everything, that was another factor that played into it.
Would you be a early enrollee there? Would you sign in December and start?
Yes, sir.
Start in January. So that's great. So you can go ahead and get early in the system.
Yes, sir.
Well, Charlie, we're looking forward to this year, man. We're excited for this Thursday night. So appreciate your time.
Of course.
Go get some rest. Stay healthy. We pray you have a great and healthy year.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Welcome back to the Coach Jake Ganus Show. Joining me now is senior Caleb Goff. Caleb, 3 days away, opening season.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts about, we're going to talk about obviously this upcoming season, but last year, you know, you were brought into this program. Was you a Coach Ganus' first year? You were a sophomore?
Yes, sir.
So kind of talk about your sophomore season now to your senior season, how the transformation came with him being here.
Well, we started off, it was just a whole different mentality when he first came in. He knew what to do, he knew what it take to win, and then so we always had to get adjusted to it. But I feel like we adjusted well over time. But the seniors now have just adapted and grown so much together. So I feel like we got the mentality, we know what it takes to win. So we just want to get there.
I know one thing I noticed from your sophomore year to your junior year, how much weight you put on. How much weight did you put on during that time?
Like 40 pounds. I put
Wow.
on 40 pounds,
Wow.
yes, sir.
So talking about this year, big game Thursday night with the Gainesville Red Elephants coming to town. A big schedule, obviously you know that. And Coach Ganus said it's going to be one game at a time. Thoughts about Gainesville? Have you watched much film on them, or can you give a little insight on that?
Good. They're a really good team, big up front, got good receivers, good quarterback, good running back, physical, runs downhill. I like it. I like to hit, smash mouth football. So, I mean, they're really good. I like that they're physical and big up front. I just like to hit. So,
Are you still handling the punting duties this year?
yeah, yes, sir. I'm still punting, yes, sir.
That's great. So what about recruiting? Have you any schools started knocking on your door, calling, texting you, and calling on your phone?
Some schools, yes, sir, have reached out. I've got a good little bit of looks, but I'm not really like worried about that right now. I worry about that after season. I don't want to focus on that. I just want to focus on winning each day.
Well, I know Brett and Willie and myself, we're cheering for you and telling coaches out there to be looking at you, because
Appreciate that.
they're going to get a steal. So we appreciate your time here.
Yes,
We pray for a good, healthy season, and good luck Thursday night.
Yes, sir.